What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders, and long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. Welcome. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. Or you can just email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. That's OPPERMAN. Just like the name of the show. Okay, oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. You can support the show and support the work, and also get ad-free content and also exclusive content by going to Opperman Report Patreon and signing up, and you get a discount if you sign up for a year. I think it's like 20%, 10 or 20%. I don't know exactly, to tell you the truth. So, and then also to our archives. You can find our archives for free if you go to Spreaker.com, SPREAKER.com, and that's where we put up all of our past shows, and I play repeats there every night too. And this live show I'm doing for you right now is exclusive to Spreaker. The only way you can hear this live is by going to Spreaker.com. It's uploaded later on to iHeart and iTunes and Apple Play and YouTube, but this is the only way to hear it live. And there's a chat room, and you get an email notification anytime we put up new content. And Spreaker.com is actually the one that pays me. They pay me some money they put some ads in the show later on the repeats, and I get paid a little bit of money from that. Okay, let's see. Well, I as usual, I tell you every Friday night I'm exhausted. Okay, but this time I really made it, man. This time I'm physically a wreck, beaten like I got beaten with a baseball bat, and I have been beaten with a baseball bat, so I know how it feels. Okay, I tell you, man. You know. Told you last week that we were moving, and I was buying a condo, and that we had some issues with last minute issues with some wire transfers we were unable to do, even though I was promised by U.S. Bank I could do it. It turned out when I tried to do it, I couldn't do it. And so then we had to move the closing till Monday, but the movers were scheduled to come on Sunday. So what's a PI to do? What's a poor radio host to do? So we moved anyway. Okay, we had the key. And we moved in anyway on Sunday, even though we had not closed on the place yet. And everybody just kind of winked and nodded, and no one said anything. And, I'm sure we had sort of an okay, but not really. And things could have really went bad. Like if we had another issue with the closing or wiring funds and everything fell apart. So it was touch and go there. And even Monday, we didn't get the keys until Tuesday. So, because there's some last minute funding had to go through. Whew. So we moved all day Sunday, and then we started unpacking. And then it turns out that I had to do many trips, many more than I thought, from here to the old place, which is about a 45-minute drive. So it's about 2 hours back and forth there of driving. And then plus up and down the stairs, removing stuff and cleaning the apartment and doing all that kind of shit. That kind of stuff. So really, really beat up. And even today, we're supposed to have some help come over and help us unpack. And she flaked on me. So we did a bunch of unpacking here. Did a lot of damage to my arm. I tore my bicep about a year ago and did a lot of damage to it the past week. But I have the insurance all in place now, and we should be getting that surgery done shortly. Okay, I can't believe that they wouldn't approve it. But really, really, really exhausted. Now I got some good news for the loyal listeners to the Opperman Report. Is tomorrow I have coming a brand new microphone. Okay. And so you're not going to be hearing like a lot of the hum and the hiss that you hear now. There's also a problem with the vibration from the PC from the computer tower, which we're going to take care of that too. I have a new computer coming. It's a monster. It's a real workhorse, man. It's going to be way, way faster. And so that issue too with the static and the choppiness, okay, that everybody loves to complain about, that should be totally fixed too as well. Then the issue of the internet speed is going to be fixed too as well, because we already moved, and the internet speed is twice as much as the old place. Where I live now, the homeowners association pays for basic cable. So with the basic cable being free, we were able to increase the speed of the internet and still pay less money. Overall, I'm going to be paying a lot less money here than I was at the old place. So things are looking up for the Opperman family. Vic's got a couple of great job interviews lined up. her resume is just incredible. So all these people want to hire her. And she goes back to school in about 20 days. I got to take another road trip, guys. I apologize to you again. I know it's been rough, man. We've been taking a lot of road trips and a lot of moving stuff, and haven't been producing the kind of content that I normally have. But we have these road trips coming up, and then I'll be back here. I'll be settled. I'll be all by myself. Less distractions, less expenses. You know, when Vic's not around, I have those expenses with her every day. So things are looking up for us here. Also, too, the TV show. If you don't know the story, I filmed a sizzle reel for a pilot for a TV series about myself and my PI work and the radio show and the guests we have on the show. All the things we do here on the show we'll be doing on the series, but you'll be seeing me do it. So, you know, we film the series, and I work out every day, I train, I get in good shape, I look pretty good. We film this thing, and then COVID hits. And they stopped filming. You know, the company stopped buying pilots. So, you know, we're on hold for a long time. But we're back up and running now, and I'm getting phone calls about this thing every single day. It's with serious people, you know. It's with serious professional people, you know, who have a track record of great content on TV. And so I'm very confident as far as that goes, that it's going to get sold, all right? And so keep your eyes out for that. And I'm getting a lot of daily contact from these people about the TV series. So keep an eye out for that. Things only now, man, I'm in such bad shape. I look horrible. I'm all fat and flabby. I look horrible, disgusting. So hopefully I can get this arm fixed and get back in the gym, start working out. Let's see. Coming up after this, I did a show, okay, and it's a good one, so I'm proud of it. And it's with these two podcasters. They're documentary filmmakers and investigative reporters. But they got a podcast now called After the Uprising, The Death of Danye Dion Jones. It's John Duffy, and the other gent is named Ray Novoselsky. But it's spelled Nowosielski, but it's pronounced Novoselsky. So I had them both on the show. Great guys. Their podcast is, once again, it's called After the Uprising, The Death of Danye Dion Jones. And their website is called *media.com. Now, if you don't know this story, it happened in Ferguson. Danye's mother was Melissa McKinney, who was an activist down there in Ferguson. Her name was very well known. Her face was very well known. Everyone knew who she was. And one day, you know, they wake up early in the morning and they find her son hanging from a...
Streaming only on Peacock.
She was this moneyed, social girl.
Ghislaine Maxwell had it all until she met Jeffrey Epstein.
Maxwell helped connect him to the wealthy and famous.
Then it all came crashing down.
Ghislaine Maxwell's charged with enticement of minors, sex trafficking of children, and perjury.
Now a new 3-part documentary reveals her story.
How on earth could she have got to this place?
Epstein's Shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell. Streaming now, only on Peacock. Streaming only on Peacock. Ghislaine Maxwell had it all until she met Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine Maxwell's charged with enticement of minors, sex trafficking of children, and perjury.
Epstein's Shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
Sun, surf, and seduction collide as 4 Americans return to exotic islands, hoping their sexy romances can turn into forever. Love in Paradise, the Caribbean, a 90-day story, streaming now only on Discovery Plus. Start your free trial. Terms apply.
Tree in the backyard. And so the cops showed up, and the cops didn't say, hey, we know you. You're one of the protesters. You know, maybe do you have any ideas who might have done this? Nothing like that at all. They were joking and laughing and treating it like a suicide. Right out the bat, no real investigation or anything. And a lot of suspicious activity and circumstances around it. So I did a really thorough questioning of the 2 investigators, the 2 reporters, who have been covering this for 2 years. And the show is still mid. You know, you can go in now and binge watch all the past shows. There's like 11 shows in total, but there's 7 up till now. So I hope you give this a listen tonight. And then your appetite is activated, and you want to go listen to their podcast. They promised me they're going to put me in touch with Melissa McKinney, and I could interview her directly. That's the mother of the guy who was found hanging. But under very suspicious circumstances, I'd love to interview her. I really wish, too, because some of the evidence is in a cell phone that didn't have service, so it only had Wi-Fi service. I didn't want to get into too much trivia minutia with these guys. Find out what software did they use to recover the data from this phone. It doesn't sound like they used real forensic software and report creating software to recover this data. It seems like they just went to some kind of cell phone repair place. And if that's true, that's just really tragic. So I don't know. Maybe I can go back and forth with them on some emails or something and find out what's going on with that. Okay. After that, I didn't have a chance to tape a lot of stuff this week. So after that, it's going to be a show from the members section from Nathan. What's this guy's name? Nathan. He used to be a guy that was in the Nathan Lewinsky. He was a regular in the old Dave McGowan group. As a matter of fact, back when Dave was alive. Bless his soul. And we did a show early on when I first started the member section a long time ago. So if you did listen to it, you probably listened to it a long time ago. About the case of I Don't Like Mondays. Okay? Which was a song by the Boomtown Rats. It's a one-hit wonder. Somehow these guys became big, successful guys off that one song, And about this girl who, went and shot up a school that was, around the corner from her house. And she shot all the little kids as they walked them, online that day. And when they asked her why she did it, she says, I don't like Mondays. And they wrote this creepy song about it. And there's even a creepier video about it that's just, and even with the Finnegan switch inside her head was switched to overload. So Nathan did a lot of research on this case, and it turns out that she was, there was a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment, and she was sleeping in the bed with her father. She was like 15 years old. They only had one bed in the place, And then later on he claimed, he slept on the floor. So Nathan does a lot of looking into this. And it's one of those things that people really don't look into enough. It's one of the first school shootings out there, and they wrote a song about it, celebrating it. Why don't we ask, hey, how did all this stuff start? What was the first one, And there was a song written about it. Kind of bizarre. So that's Nathan Lewinsky comes on. He's a good guy. We have him on. Okay, now, 16 minutes in. Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories from New York City. Now, I don't even remember what it was, but I was driving along, and I was thinking about this. A name came up. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and a name came up with this New York City cop that we both knew. And he had worked on this case called the Palm Sunday Massacre, right? And it wasn't that unique because like 75 cops worked on this case. And it was the most bizarre thing. There was this guy named Enrique Bermudez. And he was the father of a couple of kids. He had a 9-year-old, I know that. And he had a couple of smaller kids. He had been convicted of some drug charges and did 4 years. Right? So one day he comes home on Palm Sunday. And he walks into his home. He had just recently purchased the home for $50,000 cash. Now, this is 1984, so this is actual cash dollar bills. He bought this, okay? I don't even think it was run through a bank account. I think he bought this, with quit claim deed and handed the guy $50,000 cash. And about a month before this, he was talking to a travel agent, but he needed to take a quick trip down to Colombia. Okay. He walks into his newly purchased home, which was like a railroad flat on the first floor in Brooklyn, right? And he sees 10 people, 10 members of his family have been shot dead. But it was the most bizarre scene, and when I talked to this cop who was involved, he came in much later on, but he had seen the crime scene photos, and he had even taken copies of them. He took photocopies of them. Back then, people didn't carry cameras, couldn't take a picture of it. So he put it in a copy machine. He had black and white copies of these photographs, okay? And he said, Ed, it was like a wax museum. They were all sitting there. No, none of them were lying on the floor, They were all sitting there, shot in the head. And one woman even had a spoon in one hand and a cup of pudding in the other hand. She was feeding a child pudding, And they were just sitting there like they were statues, wax statues. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. So Enrique Bermudez comes home to his family, and he sees this, and he runs out screaming, and he finds this bakery across the street, and he tells them, hey, my whole family has been shot. My whole family is dead across the street. And the baker says, well, what are you talking about? So he goes over there, and he sees this, and he's the one that calls the cops. Now, the cops come, and every cop is in shock. No one's seen this, but this is all over the news in New York. So the Palm Sunday Massacre was a huge, huge 24-hour news story back in New York in '84. And I had a bunch of cops working for me, so I was familiar with the inside gossip and the rumors and stuff like that. And it turns out that Enrique Bermudez at first was not cooperating with the police. The police didn't find any drugs there, but they found all the stuff in the little plastic bags. They found the stuff that you cut the coke with, I think they found some scales. So everyone knew what was going on. This guy was a drug dealer. And, they found out right away about this trip to Colombia. The guy was on parole at the time, so they made a deal with him. And they said, listen, as long as you tell us what goes on here, we won't screw with your parole. Okay, but you just got to tell us what you must know who did this. So at first he's telling, no, I don't know anything. I can't imagine what it is. Turns out, the guy who killed his family was accusing Bermudez of sleeping with his wife because Bermudez was doing some low-level drug deals with this guy's wife. Okay, and the guy had actually broken into the house a couple of times previously at gunpoint because he thought that his wife was living there. He had shot, this, Bermudez knew who was behind this, okay? And another interesting thing, too, is that there were two guns used in the murder, in the murders. So everyone assumed that there were two gunmen. But as it turns out, the cops only arrest one guy. They arrest this one guy. Let me look up his name here real quick. Palm Sunday Massacre. Where is it? No. Here we go. Give me a sec. Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas. I think his name was Richard Thomas, but Mr. Thomas is the one who killed all these people. The one who got stopped, held, holding the bag. There had to be two shooters. How do you get the drop on 10 people and get off 10 shots that people don't even have a chance to get up and run or anything? There was one little 11-month-old child left alive in this horror scene, and when the police arrived, this little baby was crawling around crying her head off. And this woman cop, who was the first female beat cop in New York City in 1984. Back then, you could be a cop if you were a woman back in New York City, but you didn't walk the beat. You didn't, go out on calls. You had to work in the office, wear a skirt. This is one of the first woman beat cops in New York City. So, they gave the baby to her to hold, and the baby wound up being raised by a grandmother who survived all this. Just imagine, this poor little kid didn't have any family. All her family was shot dead. Okay, except for her father, Enrique Bermudez. I don't know why he didn't wind up with the baby, but somehow the baby wound up with the grandmother. And the grandmother, when the grandmother died, that lady cop had stayed in contact with the little girl for the years. So when she was 15 years old, she went to live with the cop, and the cop ultimately adopted her. Bermudez sends them to this guy, Thomas, and he says, okay, Thomas, he's been breaking into my house, he's been threatening me, he thinks I'm sleeping with his wife. We're pretty sure this is the guy that did it. They find some witnesses who recognize Thomas at a lineup, but the real nail in the coffin for Thomas was that he had fired his gun in his apartment, and then later on the apartment was caught fire, and weeks later. So they went and searched the burnt-out apartment, and they found a shell casing that matched one of the guns used in the crime scene. But somehow, by some miracle, I don't know, he had a public defender at the time. Somehow this guy, Thomas, winds up with the guy killed 10 people, including little kids. Cold-blooded murder. 2 guns, it must have been another guy involved, but he took the whole rap himself. And he got out. He got out after 30 years. He was convicted of manslaughter of these 10 people. These 10 murders. And somehow this guy got out after 30 years. He's out. He got out in 2018. He's out right now, walking around doing something. The interesting part to all this that not a lot of people know, and unless you know people back in New York, you're in the loop, is that the Enrique Bermudez drug charges and the low-level drug dealing that Enrique Bermudez was doing was in the Department of Corrections. He was selling drugs in the jails, in the prisons. See, when he got picked up and went to Brooklyn House of Detention on his charges there, right? He saw, oh my goodness, look at this. Look how much people are paying for dope here in the prison. They're paying like 4 or 5 times what they're paying outside. All I got to do is get drugs inside the prison. I can sell them in here and make a fortune. This guy's facing drug charges, facing a trial, but he's thinking, well, I can make more money in here. Let's do it. So he comes up with this scheme where he hires a bunch of guys and says, hey man, put my friends on your visitors list, and they're going to come in here and visit you, and they're going to hang you something, they're going to slip it to you there, and don't worry, it's all taken care of because everybody's paid off here, everybody knows what I'm doing, and this is how we're going to get in, right? So he made a fortune, okay, selling drugs inside the prison system and inside the jail system, right? And that's what was going on here. And it seems to me that that's how his other buddy here, who killed his whole family, wound up with such a sweetheart deal again too, because they wanted to keep that news out of the courts and out of the papers. I told this story a few times. I was hired on a murder trial, murder case, right? And the guy was so guilty. Man. He actually confessed to the police. He had 100 domestic violence cases against him. He kills his ex-wife. But because we could prove that some evidence was tampered with while it was in the police locker, the cops didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to go to trial and have that come out. So they gave this guy, he's out right now today. I think he got 8 years. Okay? So this is something to keep in mind when I get to the next story, which is the story of Larry Davis, a 19-year-old kid. Again, I think Brooklyn, might be the Bronx, but again, I think another New York City case back in this guy was in 1986. Okay, and one thing to understand about the corruption of the police back in New York City in the 80s, with the crack houses on every corner, and there was hole in the door marijuana places on every block had one, a lot of drug dealing went on, and cops were definitely aware and profiting. And it was so easy for them to get to make money from drug ripoffs, from drug arrests, from drug payoffs, protection money, all kinds of stuff. So then this is what was going on back in New York in the 80s. I'm going to take a little commercial break, and we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up.
The sale's on at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com through August 10th.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock. Peacock fuels your true crime obsession with exclusive new originals like John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise.
He said to me, clowns can get away with murder.
Dr. Death, The undoctored story.
This guy's dangerous.
And Epstein's shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell.
She inherited Jeffrey Epstein's secrets.
There was this whole other world going on.
Plus the most bingeable crime series, Buried in the Backyard and Snapped. And with the Dateline 24/7 channel that's always on.
Did you want her dead?
You can't not obsess. Sign up now at peacocktv.com.
Insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. An Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Opperman Report. At Opperman Report. That's it. Just one word. No, what do you call that? Spaces or anything like that. The other case was a big case, a bunch of them, around this time in New York City involving police corruption. Was the story of Larry Davis, a 19-year-old kid. This kid was amazing. Fascinating story. Now, we first hear about Larry Davis. All right, he's 19 years old. And we turn on the TV, and we hear that it was 9 cops. 9 New York City cops get shot. Okay? And because they go to an apartment in the projects to question somebody. And he just goes crazy and opens fire and shoots 9 cops. And then somehow there was another 20 cops, by the way, down in the street. And the hallways and the lobby and all that kind of stuff like that, kind of surrounding the joint. Right? 27 cops, to go question the guy, a 19-year-old kid, right? And they go to question him about where he stole $2 from a drug dealer. Okay, and then we went on a high-speed police chase, and he shot at the cops, whatever. The whole story, right? So the official police story is, well, they're going to go there and question this 19-year-old kid, and they went there and knocked on the door, and when the sister opened, it's his sister's apartment, when she opened up the door, and they went, just started walking inside, Larry Davis flipped down and started shooting them all up. And then, somehow he escapes, right? But how he escaped was, he found a neighbor's apartment. He was able to get out the hallway there, get to a neighbor, shot his gun at the lock, the neighbor's deadbolt lock, and then kicked in the door, jumped through there, get to her window, to her fire escape, and then jump to the building next door. This is how this guy escaped. Amazing story, right? Shoots 9 cops, right? And, then there's a 17-day manhunt. Okay, people looking for this kid, this 19-year-old terrorist gunman on the loose. He's out there armed and dangerous. He's wanted for questioning a murder now. He's, now they got all this other stuff. He's been wanted, questioned for murder. Then they do another press conference. Says, no. Now we have a warrant. We were going at a question. We didn't have a warrant then, but we have a warrant now. Police story just changing drastically all over the place. Word starts getting out around, circles that Larry Davis was working for the cops. He was an informant. Okay, now we know, 30 years later, we all know the real story what went on there, is that when he was 15 years old, he was recruited by the cops to deal drugs for them. Okay, and he started dealing drugs for them. He had some petty, charges. So he was dealing drugs for the cops. And then, $40,000 goes missing. Okay. Larry couldn't come up with the 40 grand. The cops want the 40 grand. And, he starts writing to them, hey, I'm going to rat you out. I'm going to tell you what you're doing here. I'm 19 years old, And tough guy, and probably was involved with some stick-ups, of other drug dealers and stuff like that, other things like that as well. So what happened with him was he's on the run for 17 days. A smart guy, 19 years old, it's a little kid. He already had a baby of his own, by the way. He had a baby of his own, a parent, a father. As a matter of fact, I think he was holding his baby when the cop came in and shot at him with the shotgun, but he was able to duck underneath the table, so the cop thought he was dead, but the next thing you know, he's shooting back, and all these cops are getting hit, left and right, like Swiss cheese, So, what ultimately happens is, and people in the press too are starting to get wind of this and say, this story sounds hinky, man. What's going on here? 27 cops show up to question a guy, and now all of a sudden he's the most dangerous wanted guy in the whole world. So he goes. They get word that he's in another project, another building with a relative. Cops swarm on that building, okay, and with snipers on rooftops nearby and stuff like that. And there's 300 apartments in this unit, in this building. They went to each apartment and searched each apartment. Okay, this is like on the level of Move, where they burned down a whole city block just to go after some people that were witnesses of police corruption and police malfeasance and bad behavior. Okay. They couldn't find Larry Davis, 19 years old. Ultimately, he breaks his way into an apartment, and he sends, there's a bunch of people there visiting, and a family, they live in there, and he takes a couple of hostages. He sends the father to go get Chinese food, okay? And he sends him out to call up his mother and his sister's telephone and leave disinfo for the cops, because the phones were tapped, so he wanted to give them, false information. He's feeding false information to the cops. 19 years old, this kid. So the cops got that building surrounded, and when the guy comes back with the Chinese food, he says, hey, this guy got my wife and my kids up there. He let our visitors leave, and he sent me to get this Chinese food. But, we got a problem here. So, ultimately, the cops get into a negotiation with Larry Davis, and they convince him to give himself up because there's press there, there's reporters there, the news media's there covering this thing. He's satisfied now that he's not going to get killed when he leaves this building and turns himself in, because there's too many TV cameras there. He turns himself in. All right? From what I understand, he did get beat up when they got him back to the jail. But not so bad that it would leave bruises for court. He gets a hold of William Consular. Comes in to represent him. Okay? 1986 this was. Consular gets all the charges of the shooting of 9 cops. He's acquitted on all those charges. It was self-defense. And Consular says, hey man, this guy, he was recruited as a child to sell drugs for the cops. When he tried to quit and give it up, because what happened was he had a girlfriend who had a miscarriage, and she was using crack cocaine. So he said, that's it, I'm never going to deal crack cocaine again. But the cop says, yes, you are. Okay? And plus, where's that 40 grand you owe us? Dude, we want that. 40 grand in 1986 was a lot of money. Okay? And it would be enough money to get 27 cops to go down and collect that money. Especially if this guy was threatening to rat out, 20 of those cops, or 7 of those cops. Definitely back in 1986 in New York City, that would have went down. Okay. He gets off those charges. 100% acquitted of those charges. Bill Consular. If you don't know who William Consular is, look him up. William S. Consular. Greatest civil rights lawyer probably in the history of this country. So he gets acquitted of those charges, right? But then they say, well, we got no, not so fast. No, he does get convicted of a gun possession charge, and he got some crazy thing for that, man. What was that? Then we got like 5-7 years on gun possession in 1986 in New York City. They included weapons possession, murder of drug dealers, attempted murder of police, kidnapping, and automobile theft. He gets acquitted and all that shit. Then they said, well, no, he was involved in another murder in 1988. Okay. There was another murder. 4 killings occurred in 1986, and we want him arrested for those, and charged with those. They arrest him, they arrest his brother on that. I don't know what happened to the brother, but he's acquitted on those charges too. Nothing happened. 1988's acquittal of a shooting of the 9 police officers. Self-defense. Got away with that. Then in 1989, he's acquitted for the murder of a Harlem drug dealer. Another charge they tried to hit him with. He did get convicted in 1991 of a conviction for a murder of a Bronx drug dealer that happened in 1987. Yeah, the brother was arrested in 1987. It doesn't say when that murder took place. Then, ultimately, in 2008, he was stabbed and killed in prison by a guy who had nowhere to go, had several murder charges against him, and assaults in the prison, batteries in the prison, and stuff like that. So, you can't give him any more time. He was already doing life. And somehow, and at that time, Larry Davis was walking with a cane. So he wasn't a young, tough guy anymore. And he got stabbed by this guy. And the guy, all they did was just relocate him to another prison and then keep doing his time. But that's another case of New York City cops, corruption, and how the stories you see in the paper. There's a guy I want to interview. I think his name is Troy Reed. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, I found it. Okay. Yeah, Troy Reed did a documentary film about Larry Davis' story. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I have a copy of it. It's called The Larry Davis Story, 2003, a Troy Reed Street Stars film. Troy Reed seems like a really good guy, and I want to interview him badly about all this stuff that went on back in those days. that I wouldn't, hear so much.
Ever hear of high-altitude Malbec? It's a dark red wine that comes from these remote vineyards up at 9,000 feet. The wine region is actually the most isolated in the world. On one side, you got miles of desert. On the other, you got the Andes Mountains. For 200 years, a small group of families have been making a Malbec wine using no flavoring or dyes, no filtering, and no excess chemicals. This is wine that tastes as rugged as the land itself. You get blackberry, leather, smoke, dark cherry. PatriotWinesale.com just got a special shipment of these wines in, including one Malbec from one of the highest vineyards in the world. These are not wines available at any liquor store or other wine club. You go to PatriotWinesale.com. That's PatriotWinesale.com and get the most amazing wines you'll ever taste at 50% off and 50% off shipping. These are really special wines you've got to try to understand how special they are. PatriotWinesale.com. Must be 21. Enjoy responsibly.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
About, through my connections and my people and stuff like that. But this is what it was like back then. And this was all under the supervision. The New York City Police Commissioner during all this was Benjamin Ward. And I told this story many times before, and I told it with Jim Rothstein. I was talking to Jim Rothstein about the story of Benjamin Ward's son, who was a New York City cop and a heroin addict, okay, and was actually doing armed robberies in a police uniform. Okay, all right. This is what was going on back in those days, man, back in New York. You gotta wonder why. More people. Everyone knows these stories that I tell. These are like such common knowledge in New York City and Staten Island and New York. People would sit around at barbecues and laughing about these things. The whole Giuliani with the what was that guy, Leroy Nicky Burns. Everyone knows that story. And there's audio of it on YouTube. Everybody knows that stuff. I wish we could have more of this. So that's what we got for you this week. The story of the Palm Sunday Massacre and the story of Larry Davis, 19 years old, has a shootout with 27 cops and then survives. Jumps from one fire escape to another. Acquitted of the charges due to Bill Kunstler. Great stuff, man. Yeah, back in those days, Kunstler was a client of mine, of my PI work back in those days. So him and I forget the other guy's name. Anyway, it's been a long, long day, like I told you. You can look forward to better audio quality coming up next week, if I can get it all set up correctly. I'd love to get this guy Troy Reed on. I'd love to get Melissa McKinney on. Those are great shows. Got a couple other things I'm working on, too. One guy got back to me. This guy that worked for Larry Flint Publications for years. He worked for Larry Flint for Hustler, and he seems interested. I don't know what's going on with him. He wrote a book. A bunch of stuff. We got John Draper, Captain Crunch. We got Marvin Gaye's ex-wife, who was like a teenage bride with Marvin Gaye and got, really brutalized and abused. I got her phone number, but she doesn't seem to get back to me on email and stuff like that. I really need help, someone who could call these people up for me, and schedule and book these appointments or these interviews and stuff. That would be a great help if someone wanted to book and schedule interviews. I know I had one guy volunteer, but I haven't had a chance to get back to him with all this moving and stuff like this. This guy, Matt, he's a good guy on Facebook, always gets a hold of me. Well, we're just about out of time. Once again, if you want to advertise, I'm going to pick up some new stations, okay? Because I got a lot going on. And I'm about to pick up some new stations. I can really give you a good deal, especially if you're down in Florida, because I'm on 2 big stations down here with like 6 or 7 frequencies that reach all over the east coast of Florida and the west coast of Florida. And I can pick up some more. We can really saturate this coverage down there because I really want to promote the political candidates down here and get some flip Florida, for more progressive candidates. That's what I'm hoping to do. Anyway. So, if you like the show, check out our Patreon. It's Opperman Report Patreon. If you need a PI, get a hold of me, private investigator Ed Opperman, at OppermanInvestigations@gmail.com. If you want to follow my fun stuff I do on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, you can find me there. I'm on all of them at Opperman Report. There's an Opperman Report Facebook page. But Ed Opperman, too, has a Facebook page. I'm at my limit there. You can follow me there, but I'm at my limit for friends. Always, writing out clever stuff, just when I'm not exhausted and not so busy. If I just had some little bit of help, little staff here. So maybe if more people signed up to Patreon and supported the Patreon, $3 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, and supported that Patreon, man, I could hire some staff, and we could book better guests. We'd have more time to do that. Because the interviews I could do the interviews, in my sleep at this point, I got this formula down. I know how to do it. Just need help booking and scheduling guests, and booking and scheduling my own appearances, too, to bring in more listeners to the show. So if someone out there wants to volunteer temporarily, because I can pay you soon, probably about another year, and if this TV show takes off, man, forget it, we'll be making a ton of money. We'll have like 50,000, Spreaker followers, and we'll have like, 1,000, 2,000 Patreon followers. And we'll be making a fortune. So, all right, guys, ladies and gents, thank you so much. My first radio show in the new condo here. Got a beautiful... I posted some pictures, too, on Twitter and Facebook if you want to see the new studio. Right behind me, there's like a fountain. It's all glass behind me, a nice little patio kind of thing. And there's a huge fountain back there, and there's a little lake with snapping turtles, these long-necked turtles, We're not allowed to feed them, though. I was going to buy a bunch of little goldfish and feed these turtles. They were like those little tiny fish you get real cheap. I forget what they're called. Betas, I think they call them. Get a bunch of those and just throw them back there to feed these turtles, Because when they saw me standing out there, they all came over. This whole family of turtles came over to see me. It was so adorable. Bunch of lizards here, too, man. Okay. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you so much. Don't forget to sign up at Spreaker.com. Don't forget to like and share the videos. Not YouTube. Don't bother liking or sharing YouTube. That does nothing for me. Spreaker, Apple Pays, that kind of stuff. That's what helps out the show. That's about it. Coming up next will be these two gents with After the Uprising show about the Danye Jones hanging in the backyard there of his mother's house. And then Nathan Lewinsky about I Don't Like Mondays, the shooting up one of the first school shootings. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Good night. And now a word from our sponsors.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
The sale's on at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com through August 10th.
In the fight against COVID-19, testing offers another layer of protection in addition to vaccines. Go to vdh.virginia.gov and search by zip code to find a free COVID-19 test near you. A message from your Virginia Department of Health.
Peacock fuels your true crime obsession with exclusive new originals like John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise.
He said to me, Klaus can get away with murder.
Dr. Death, the undoctored story.
This guy's dangerous.
And Epstein's shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell.
She inherited Jeffrey Epstein's secrets.
There was this whole other world going on.
Plus the most bingeable crime series, Buried in the Backyard and Snapped. And with the Dateline 24/7 channel that's always on.
Did you want her dead?
You can't not obsess. Sign up now at peacocktv.com.
The sale's on at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com through August 10th.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock. Peacock fuels your true crime obsession with exclusive new originals, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise.
Klaus can get away with murder.
And Epstein's shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell.
She inherited Jeffrey Epstein's secrets.
Plus the most bingeable crime series, Snapped. Sign up now at peacocktv.com.
The sale's on at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com through August 10th.
Streaming only on Peacock. Ghislaine Maxwell had it all until she met Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine Maxwell is charged with enticement of minors, sex trafficking of children, and perjury.
Epstein's shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
Ever hear of high-altitude Malbec? It's a dark red wine that comes from these remote vineyards up at 9,000 feet. The wine region is actually the most isolated in the world. On one side, you got miles of desert. On the other, you got the Andes Mountains. For 200 years, a small group of families have been making a Malbec wine using no flavoring or dyes, no filtering, and no excess chemicals. This is wine that tastes as rugged as the land itself. You get blackberry, leather, smoke, dark cherry. PatriotWinesale.com just got a special shipment of these wines in, including one Malbec from one of the highest vineyards in the world. These are not wines available at any liquor store or other wine club. You go to PatriotWinesale.com. That's PatriotWinesale.com and get the most amazing wines you'll ever taste at 50% off and 50% off shipping. These are really special wines you've got to try to understand how special they are. PatriotWinesale.com. Must be 21. Enjoy responsibly.
Grand Canyon University, a Christian university, is one of the largest and fastest growing universities in the country, offering over 200 engaging programs online. GCU invests in high-demand areas such as nursing, teaching, and the sciences. Students engage with faculty who become partners in your success. GCU's online students received over $100 million in scholarships in 2020. Visit gcu.edu/myoffer to see the scholarships you qualify for.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
What do you know about Dr. Dunch?
Based on the unbelievable true story.
I can't make sense of this.
Dr. Death.
Dunch has 2 deaths that we know of.
Starring Joshua Jackson with Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin.
I am going to fix you.
All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.